Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Dev Mentor Dave channel on YouTube and on Twitch, streaming live every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Central United States time. And this is the Workday Recap, where we talk about things from our day, most likely, or things that might be happening at other times. It just depends. So looking forward to jumping on with you guys today and talking through a few things. Welcome, Ming. Good to see you. If you're watching live, jump in the chat either on Facebook. Sorry, not Facebook. Wow. It's been a long week. Either on YouTube or on Twitch. If you're watching live, jump in the chat. Say hello. If you have something that you would like to discuss, let me know. And you can do that in the chat. And just let me know if there's something something that you would like to discuss, and we will most likely talk about it. If you're watching this later on YouTube, leave a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all the things that everybody wants you to do, and we'll move forward. All right, so poor Ming has flopped another live coding test. Sorry, Ming. What happened with this one? You say you flopped it, but you probably did fine. Why do you think that you flopped it? That's the most important question to answer. Because it doesn't matter what I say. It matters why you feel the way that you feel about it. While you're typing that out, I'll do my diatribe. Because I wasn't a DSA monkey. Well, there's that. Oh man, I just spit everywhere, kind of like that Eagles player last night. In case you're not a NFL fan, one of the Eagles' best defensive linemen, got kicked out of the game within like the first plays of the game, because he spat on another player. I don't know. That's all I got. It was weird. It was a weird game too. So, anyway, we are wrapping up another week. Obviously, tomorrow we've got our live stream on Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon, and hopefully we'll. Oh my goodness gracious! Sorry. Hopefully we will wrap up that project that we've been working on, and see where we go from there, and see what other fun things we might start learning for ourselves along the way. I've thought about potentially learning Python online, and that just I don't really want to learn Python, but maybe I will. We'll see. Theoretically, it's a popular language, so maybe I should do something like that. So we'll see what happens. But today I just wanted to kind of toss something out. Let's see. He asked me about pop, push, and classes. Then his feedback was, you need to do more elite code and become elite code monkey. Man, so they're really dumping into the DSA junk. Yeah, I don't like. It depends on what you're programming, right? Like I've been programming for 20 years. I've never had to do DSA or elite code. I don't know. I think that's just bad expectations, quite frankly. People feel better about themselves for being able to do that stuff. All right, so this afternoon I wanted to talk just briefly, as kind of the topic of the day, on something that I'm calling it time boxing. I don't know if that's even right. Let's check. What is time boxing? Yep. So it's basically just, okay. I'm using it right. So basically, the idea is that we've got to be better at setting up specific time to do specific things and not allowing ourselves to be pulled into other stuff. This is a really, really key component of being a good, solid developer, and that is making sure that you can give yourself time to actually do the work. Now, this is something, depending on where you are at in your career, you may find yourself in a position where that's very difficult to do. For example, where I'm at in my career at the moment is it's very hard to time box, and I have to try to do this as much as I can, specifically with my calendar. I don't get a lot of time to actually write code very much anymore. I mean, today is a perfect example. So I had a meeting in the morning. It was a church meeting from 6 a.m. till 8:30, and then on the way home, my boss called me. So I was driving and talking to my boss, and then I got home and jumped right into another meeting at 10, and had another meeting right after that. I did a one-on-one with one of my coworkers. Excuse me. And then a little bit after that, I didn't have anything else planned until 12, which I had a client call at 12. But between those two things, I got a call from another client that I ended up having to be on for a while. And then I had my 12 o'clock call, and then I had another call with the same client, and then another call with my boss. I was actually on the phone like 3 or 4 times with my boss today. And again, it's not bad, but that's kind of the role that I have. I have a harder time being able to time box in. Yeah, you want to come work with me, Dan? But again, really, it's more about the role that I currently have, right? So when I was back working just as a dev or as a lead, I might have a meeting maybe once a day, maybe a couple of meetings a day, depending on what was going on. But it was a lot easier for me to take time out of my schedule and and box off time in my schedule. But my whole schedule is time boxing now. I mean, the times that are free and open seem to get filled very quickly, and that's the reality. Whether you're a seasoned developer, whether you're a junior developer, it doesn't really matter where you're at in that stream, that journey. You're most likely going to have days and have weeks and just periods of time where if you're not careful, you're going to end up not getting things done the way that you need to, because everybody has to talk to you about something. Everybody has a question, or everybody needs something from you, right? And sometimes sometimes you can't get past that. But as a developer, especially, it's very crucial for us to have specific time set aside so that we can actually do the work. Because, we've talked about this before, but being a developer means spending a lot of your time thinking about things. And I think this is even more true today than it was in the past with the advent of AI. Now we have to think about things in a totally different way. Instead of just thinking about what solution do I want to create and then going and creating that solution, now we have to think about not only the solution that we want to create, but now we have to think about how am I going to describe to AI how to help me do that solution and build that solution faster than I would have done on my own. So in many ways, I feel like we even have to think more than we used to as developers. You used to be able to kind of jump into a task after you've thought through it some, made some plans. Now you have to plan out even more in order to get AI involved, and that can still help save time. But you're going to need time that is blacked out on your calendar, that's boxed on your calendar, so that you can actually make sure that you get that stuff done. I reached the end of a day like today, and I literally was going from meeting to meeting to meeting, and phone calls in between that were not planned. And what I thought was actually going to be a fairly light day ended up being a full day of work, and that's not bad. But I also have reached a point at the end of today where I don't really feel like I've actually accomplished anything. I haven't actually. There are certain things that are on my list that I wanted to get done today that I thought I was going to have time to do, and I wasn't able to do that. Now, some of that could not have been avoided, but some of it could have been avoided. For example, I could have moved a few things around. I had a couple of one-on-ones today. I could have moved those to next week if I really needed to get the time. I could have just ignored certain people when they called, that probably would have been okay. I mean, I'm pretty available, so it's rare for me to miss a call from a client or from my boss. But we were kind of joking about it because I was on the phone with a client and then got a phone call from my boss, and I told him about it. And he's like, "Oh, did you make sure and let him know that if you don't get off the phone and talk to me, you may not have a job?" So he was joking, thankfully. But again, I'm pretty available. That's pretty typical for me. But if I reach a point where I really need to get something done, that means I've got to not just put time on my schedule, but I've got to make sure that I'm following through with that time on my schedule to ensure that I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not answering a Slack message. I'm letting things kind of sit so that I can totally focus. And maybe that means even turning off some of those notifications, or leaving your phone in a totally different room or something like that, so that you can actually focus. And we talk about, not burning out. We talk about not spending too much time learning, or too much time working on something and being frustrated with something. But on the flip side, we also have to make sure that we're giving ourselves enough time to do those things as well. We've got to make sure that we are putting up some boundaries in the learning process. We're putting up some boundaries in the work process. There are times that we need to just say, I can't do anything else right now. And it's not wrong to do that. In fact, it's probably good to do that for most of us, to actually put, not just on the calendar, but put into practice tips and tools to make sure that we're actually following through with what is on our calendar, and that we're working on what we're supposed to be working on. And that doesn't necessarily just mean getting rid of distractions from other people. It could mean getting rid of distractions from ourselves. Maybe that means closing down X or Facebook or YouTube or something like that. If it's a distraction, then we probably need to set it aside so that we can really give ourselves over to that thing. And I think that is probably the main key that people don't fully, I won't say that they don't fully grasp, but they don't fully give themselves over to that part of the process. And that is being willing to actually say no, being willing to force yourself into the barrier, force yourself into the box of time in a way that you are not distracted, making sure that you're staying focused while you're in that process, because we all need those times. But so often we think we're taking advantage of those times, but we're really not. We're not fully engaged in what we're saying that we're going to be engaged in. So I think it's really important that we understand that we need to take time. We need to box time off for specific things. And that's, something that kind of came out of conversation earlier this morning was, there's certain things that I know are good and right for me to be doing. But if I don't take time and plan it, and if I don't take time and set it aside and actually do it, it's not going to happen. And the same thing is going to be true of us in our job and our learning, wherever you're at in your journey. That's going to be very true as well. If you're not boxing time out, not just on the calendar, but in reality, if you're not actually putting up barriers and rules and following through on that, then you're going to end up in a place where you're distracted, where you're not making the progress that you want to make, and you're not fulfilling the obligations, most likely, that you're supposed to be fulfilling. So I just want to encourage you guys here at the end of the week. It's easy to kind of look back on the week and wonder at times, what did I get accomplished? Like me today, I didn't actually really feel like I got anything done. And part of that's on me. If I had been more clear with what my plan was for the day, if I had made sure and boxed myself in, those phone calls didn't have to be answered necessarily. Maybe sometimes they do, but a lot of times, people can leave a message and we need to be okay with that. And we need to be okay with that as the people calling, that it's all right to leave a message, right? But we also need to be okay that even coworkers and even our employers at times. They need to understand that a time blocked off on a calendar is should be somewhat sacred to us as developers. Like we should value that for ourselves, and we should value that for other developers. So if you are a junior developer, you're working with a lead, and you see that they've got time that's boxed off on their calendar, don't go to them. Do something else. Find something else that you can do. Give them that time so that they have the opportunity for them to plug in and really get something accomplished. And if you are just looking to manage yourself a little bit better, put those times on your calendar. Make it clear to other people when you're boxing time out for yourself, and be realistic. Don't box out a whole day. Box out parts of your day, and give yourself enough time to do the things that you're wanting to do, but also make sure that you're actually doing those things during that time. So just a few tips from some of my fun week this week, and even today, dealing with feeling like nothing really happened. So hopefully that's at least helpful to you in your development journey as we go through here. So we got a few chats going on. Let me see if I can catch up with you guys after monologuing there. Let's see. Ming says you can hire me and complete all the tickets and help the team transition to React. I will not thank you later if you were transitioning my team to React. That would be a no-go. Let's see. With AI, you need to be really explicit with the problem you're solving. Absolutely. And you've got to be able to take the time to think through that too, and make sure that you're giving the right instructions to be able to get the right response that you're looking for. Dan says, I suppose it really depends on what role you're in as well. I was in a lead role in my last job and had much less time to code compared to my current job. Yeah, it totally is. And that's why I would say, especially as you get into different roles that are not explicitly just development, you definitely want to make sure that you understand the expectations your company has of you as far as what you should be doing each day, and then make sure that you box that time off. A few years ago, I read a book. Well, I listened to a book by Tim Ferriss called the 4-Hour Work Week. Yeah, I think it's the 4-Hour Work Week, and there was a lot of interesting things in there. A lot of stuff that not everybody can actually do in the real world, in a real job. So that there's that. But there were some good reminders in there around knowing what needs to be done, what's the most important things, and making sure that you don't get distracted outside of those things. Time boxing when you communicate was one of the things that he talked about in that book, which would be, letting people know, hey, I only answer emails from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., right? To 2 hours. 2 hours a day, that's the only time I answer emails. I think depending on the role that you're in, that may not be logical or useful or helpful or doable. But I think it's a good idea to start thinking about how do I plan out my day? How do I structure my day? And then how do I ensure that other people don't mess that up so that I can be the most efficient that I can be at what I need to be efficient at. And again, part of that, to your point, Dan, is role-based a lot of time, and it's important for us to understand in the eyes of our employer what that role requires and what they expect, so that we can box our time correctly in a way that's going to make us successful. So Ming says, after using AI to help solve a specific problem, it has taught me to problem solve and go really deep into the problem. Yeah, there's something called deep work. I've never thought of that. Where you turn off all distractions, it helps you become a laser focus and increase productivity. Yeah, I think there are some people that need music or sound for them to get into the zone. I am not that way. I like having sound, but I can also go with silence. But I think the biggest issue with that is the distraction. So the phone, the notifications, things like that, those are the things that you want to cut out, especially to get that laser focus that you're talking about. Ming says, you will get things done when I ask you questions. I'll make the team really productive if you hire me. That sounds like more distractions than anything. You can adopt that what Sweden has, 30 hour work week. A 6-hour day is much more productive than working 8 hours and overtime, as your productivity will drop afterwards. Yeah, I think so. Here's my opinion on that. I think everybody's different. Some people can work 10 hours and it's exactly right. Some people can only work in 3-hour sprints, and they need a break for an hour or two, right? I think finding the thing that works best for you, and this is one of the great things about being just a dev or even a lead at times, is you can usually plan your day out as long as you're available during business hours. You can usually plan your day around how you work best, especially if you're remote. Now, if you have to go in the office, that doesn't always work very well. But if you're remote, you can often plan your day around how you best work. I've worked with developers that really worked best at night, and they were available when I needed them to be available to contact them as a lead. But they did most of their work in the evening. You see the the code changes, the commit messages going up in 11 p.m., 1 a.m., things like that. And they were perfectly healthy and fine. It's just they worked better at that time. Maybe it was due to their family situation. It was just easier for them to get distraction free at those times, things like that. So I think you really just have to find what works for you. I don't know that mandating a specific sequence of days or hours is the best for what we do. I think for some jobs that works fine, but for what we do and the load that we take on mentally, it's really important for us to recognize that everyone's going to have a different stopping point, and when it comes to that. And so it's important that we, as management, that we give them flexibility for that. And it's important that you figure out what that is for yourself as a developer, what your process is. Now, obviously, you have to put hours in, so you can't just be like, well, my process is 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. Like that doesn't work, right? The goal is to find something that meets both the employer's needs and your needs overall. So you might have to give in a little bit here and there. But I don't know that just adopting like a specific work week process like Sweden has is necessarily the right thing. I think it's finding the best thing for everyone to make every person most productive every day or every week. So that would be the approach that I would hope to take, and that hopefully I do take with the developers that I work with. Dan says my employer is asleep most of the day, so I don't get bothered much during the day, just after 8 p.m. Yeah, so maybe you should just start your day later. Time box yourself and box some time for them, for that communication. I'm sure you probably do. Being a senior dev here, you've been doing it long enough. You probably understand all those points. Although I do find that even though I understand and agree with those things, I have to still remind myself to follow through and do them, because it's easy to get into the habit of always answering the phone or always responding to a Slack message or whatever it is, right? So it's important to, even as developers, even as senior developers, it's important to remind ourselves, I think, of these things, and just make sure we haven't fallen into bad habits of letting ourselves get distracted, even in that time that we do have boxed off. So Ming says, when I'm applying for roles, I turn on K-pop, which is really upbeat, but helps me accelerate efficiently in the process. Yeah, see, so music is helpful for a lot of people, right? Have you heard about Jack Ma principle for productivity? 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. That might help you get lots done. I don't know that it helps you really be most effective. You might be productive, but what you're producing may not be very effective. So I don't know. I think there's again, there's opportunities for everyone to figure out what works best for them. So I think we should just be careful to. Oh, sorry, YouTube's dying. I think we should just be careful to not make too many general statements about what people should be doing when it comes to like specific times or lengths of time, things like that. I think we just need to be realistic and find what works best for us within whatever role and whatever company we're working in at the time, and that may change over time. That may change for you personally, whether you might need more rest later on in your career, or more breaks later on in your career, but you can go longer because you have more time. Whereas earlier in your career, maybe you can hit it hard for 8 straight hours and be good to go. So everybody's different. Every stage of life is different. Every job requirement is different. So I think we need to work together as employers and employees to find that right sweet spot so that we can do what is best for everybody involved. And I think at the end of the day, that's really the goal. That's the hope. Because if we're both working together to find the best solution, then we can find the best solution. We can be more productive. We can get more done. We can get more accomplished, and the company can make more money. The owner can make more money. So there's that. Productivity is relative to your energy levels. You give or take the energy you spend. Yep, absolutely. Your time boxing will be a game changer. Is that because you're into Taekwondo? I don't think you're understanding what I mean by time boxing. We're not hurting anything here. We're not defending ourselves. Although we are kind of defending ourselves, actually. If you think about it, we're defending ourselves and our productivity as we go through. I've been messing around with these cards here that I got at Laracon. They were in the gift box, in the take-home thing. Cards Against Artisans. I've never played Cards Against Humanity. I think that's what this is riffing off of. But yeah, I've been sitting here trying not to shuffle them so that they don't make noise. But it's kind of it's a nervous. I've had these out for the last couple days, and so they're kind of just here, and I keep grabbing them and playing with them. So Dan says, I think if you're a company wide specifying when and how people work, you probably need different employees or work culture. Yeah, I agree. I think you especially in our industry, you need to be flexible, and that's on both the developer side and on the management side. We need to be flexible to make sure that we're doing the best for everybody, and because at the end of the day, if you get burned out, that doesn't help the company, right? Now they've got to go find somebody else to fill your role if you quit, or if they let you go, or if you just need time off, they might have to burn somebody else out in order to cover you. It's never good when we're not working together to find the best solution for everybody. And it only helps everybody. It helps the developer, it helps the company, and at the end of the day, if we do it well, I think we help our customers as well. We get them a better product. We get them something that is more useful more quickly. And so I think that's really the key, is working together, realizing that we're on the same team. We are supposed to be working together to meet a specific end, to meet a specific goal, and I think a big part of that ebbs and flows that developers oftentimes fail to do well is this matter of time boxing. So learn how to do it and do it well. If anyone burns out, hey, just in time. Welcome, Mel. If anyone burns out, I'll cool the team down and offer Taekwondo classes and do a little do a little. I don't even know. Do some of your. What are they called? They're not called positions. What are they called? Um, you know what I'm talking about, Ming. Doggone it, I can't think of it. I know it. It's not positions. It's shoot. We'll see if he comes up with it. Not meditation. I'm talking about like the different setups. I can't think of it. Oh well. No. No. Not stretches, not yoga. Um let's see. We'll ask Claude if they know. What are positions called in Thai? How do you spell taekwondo? Taekwondo. Stances? That's not what I was going for. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I thought there was there was another word for it. What is a group of positions? Maybe it's like a group. But that's definitely not what I was thinking of. Pumsai? That's not what I was thinking of. I don't know. Yeah, that's what we needed. Somebody with a bamboo stick running around smacking people. No, that's a development term, Mel. An array. Yeah, or a list. Yeah, exactly. No, there was something there's another terminology in some martial art for either a set of position or excuse me, sorry. I don't know. I can't think of what it is now. It's been a long week. It's good to see you, Mel. Thanks for jumping in. We're getting ready to jump off. I forget what time is it where you're at, Mel. Isn't it super late? Yeah, it must be stances. I thought there was something else. I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking of, but do you know what a pumsai is? You'll remember it just as you go to bed, probably, and have to rush to Discord to tell us it's gone 10 o'clock. Didn't realize the time. Yeah. 10:30 for me. Okay. I can't do this military time or this what I don't know if you call we call it military time because yeah, Pumsai is it am I saying that right? Say Pumsai or Sai? I don't know. Is a set of strikes and blocks. Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at that on Claude here. Pumsai. Okay. Yeah, so I saw that. That's interesting. I don't know. It was something weird. I was almost like cards, or I was trying to talk myself into it and it didn't work. Doggone it. Oh well. Um, yeah. So, well, maybe you can make it tomorrow, Mel. I don't know what your weekends are like these days, but I am gonna jump off. Got some stuff that I need to do, especially. I've got to finish some things up before the football game tonight. So, go Chiefs! Are playing in Sao Paulo at 7 my time. So that's what 2 hours from now. So it'll be midnight your guys' time. So it's on YouTube though. So there's that. I don't know if it'll be free where you guys are. Everything's all over lately. School just started. But my kid is weird hours now. Yeah. Yeah, everything's crazy. That's why you should have been here earlier for the monologue, right? So that's why you gotta learn time boxing and actually stick with it, right? So that's the brief note at the end. So anyway, thanks for jumping on, everybody. Mel, good to see you. Sorry you weren't able to be on as late or on as long with us here today, but hopefully You missed the monologue. Sorry. You can jump back over on YouTube. It should be ready once we get off. I think I turned these on to where you can play them. You can go back and replay them while they're live too. So if not, let me know. I'll try to make sure I do that. Do it again real quick. I got stuff to do. I got places to go and people to see and things to get done before I yell at the TV for 3 hours and hopefully watch my team win. So there you go. So thanks Dan. Have a good one. Thanks Ming for dropping in, and thanks Mel. Good to see you again. Glad to see things are going. Can't replay live, but we'll listen when you sleep. There you go. That'll work. Perfect. All right, guys. Have a good weekend. If I don't see you tomorrow on the live stream, have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys then probably on Monday if I can find my transition. There it is. All right. Have a good one.